Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Next Forecast, where we highlight forward-thinking leaders who are shaping the industry. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of inviting the founder of Your Support LLC, Brian Johnson. Brian, thank you very much for joining me today.
Good afternoon, Dewan. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Brian, can you share your story of how did you get started into this business for the first place, and also introduction about yourself?
Well, I initially got started, or my first exposure to real estate was actually over 20 years ago. I went to work for a master appraiser at a large real estate appraisal firm. From there, I pretty much got the ground level in at the ground level doing real estate appraisals, and we're talking dictation from the appraisal report, putting together the photos, doing all the images, maps, the whole gamut. From there, I pretty much went to work for brokers, appraisers, and real estate professionals in the larger commercial real estate community. I've also done some work with the federal government with their national broker contract, doing leasing federal spaces for the federal government. And so that's pretty much how I got started.
Awesome, seems nice. So having this much experience all this year, what are some of the most complex or interesting projects you've tackled in your real estate career so far?
One of the most complex things is just the management of the data. Real early on in my career, once I decided that it was such a multifaceted industry, I returned to school. I received an undergraduate degree at Georgia State University, where I earned my bachelor's of business administration in real estate. That pretty much gave me the foundational educational foundation to help understand all of the moving parts. During that time, I've got my knowledge base in real estate development, real estate analysis, learning things about the accounting process associated with real estate. So keeping together or just keeping track of all those different moving parts was one of the biggest challenges initially, but as time went on, I got more and more proficient with navigating the incredible amount of data associated with real estate and all the different asset types and property types associated with it on both the commercial and residential side.
Nice, awesome. And as you mentioned, you have some experience like supporting senior level executives. How did that experience shape your approach to problem solving in real estate today?
Well, one of the things that I realized and one of the things that drew me to real estate initially was the interaction with different people. The people portion of the industry is very, very diverse. You're
Yes.
dealing with people, you're dealing with investors, you're dealing with brokers, you're dealing with some finance types. Um, that's one of the biggest attraction for me is the interaction with different people. And then the other side is the technology. Given the technology that has evolved over the last, since I've been involved in it, over the last 20 to 30 years, it's been very, very stimulating to see where the technology is going. And because that's an integral part of being successful is being able to navigate the technology platforms, and it's ever increasing, especially in the current environment.
Yeah, I fully agree with you on part, especially on the technology part, because comparing now versus 20 years ago and 30 years ago, the technology has evolved in a huge way. So yeah, it's impacting a lot of stuff in a good way, of course. So can you tell us like what motivates you to keep learning and growing in such a fast evolving field?
Well, one of the things that it's important to understand is the integration of the technology. I
Yeah,
I pretty much returned back to school and earned my graduate degree in project management in
nice.
2020. That curriculum pretty much helped me pull all of the technological pieces together in the context of project and portfolio management. The biggest challenge associated with real estate is that there are so many different sectors and there's so many different moving parts across the sectors, that it could be challenging to keep up with the technological advancements and get to a
Yeah.
point where you're actually performing in order to turn a profit.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, like you've been in this space for a long time, you have developed a lot of skills and expertise in this space. Are there any particular skills or areas of expertise that you feel that sets you apart in this industry from the others?
Well, one of the things that is very important, again, is the integration of knowing the technology, but also knowing the building that you're in, knowing the different um, facility spaces that are available, knowing
Yeah,
the location that you're in so that you're able to navigate and assist people with any questions they have as it relates to location and amenities in the area. What's around the building, what are some of the services associated with that, as well
yeah,
as what's in the building as far as, lunch cafeterias, restrooms, conference rooms, those types of things. Particularly in commercial real estate, that is the convergence of all those different elements. And now with the way the market is going, people are looking to, there's a big, big push to get people to return to office. Nobody wants to come into a building that's not really facilitating them at even from a
hmm,
professional, but also from a mental standpoint as far as, where they'll be. So the challenge going forward for a lot of owners, occupiers, and developers alike is going to be making sure that the building or the asset that they're looking to occupy has those elements so that people are comfortable with returning to office.
nice. I love that. And as you mentioned at the beginning, like describing your experience, you mentioned that you have a bit of technical skill. So how do you bridge the gap between the real estate and the technology right now?
Lots of market research, lots of integration with operating the advanced functions associated with a lot of the technological platforms. One of my solid foundations, and one of my core skill sets back then when I was very young, I earned a degree in office management technology. So I have a
Nice,
solid foundation of the technological infrastructure, namely the spreadsheets, the word processing, the presentation. Most recently, I've been dealing with a lot of the data visualization challenges. So I'm doing a lot of learning and mastery of the Tableau platform,
nice.
which is very important because that enables you to kind of visualize where things are. And again, I mentioned earlier that the real estate industry is very, very data intensive. You have lots of data coming from different places, all types of different formats. And so the challenge going forward for a lot of people is just going to be navigating that and making it make sense to the stakeholders.
Yeah, and which tools or platforms are like your favorite ones to manage all this data and operations in real estate?
Well, one of the biggest platforms that I'm really developing going forward is the knowledge of the Oracle Cloud infrastructure as well as visualization. Those two are pretty much, if you have those under your belt and you can navigate that, then you can
Yeah,
kind of do a lot of more enterprise related projects, especially with the way things are going on a global scale. You've got to be able to have an enterprise level mindset where you're dealing with real estate, not just here in the United States, but around the world. So when
yeah,
it starts
absolutely.
to move into portfolio management, not just project management, asset management, they all kind of get meshed together. And so the big challenge is identifying and kind of establishing a baseline as it relates to technological your technological toolkit.
Nice. And also, Brian, how do you approach helping executives or teams who feel overwhelmed by this technology stuff or the new processes also?
Well, one of the things about feeling overwhelmed is my own strategy is to kind of exercise some deep breathing and meditation technique.
Yeah, absolutely, for starter. Yeah,
The emotional intelligence part is key because there's so many lots of moving parts, and the things are moving at such a amazingly fast clip that it's
yeah,
hard to it could be very difficult to kind of stay serene and calm, especially with pressure, to gain profit and make the building worth having and all of that. So your personal health, your mental health, or mine in my case anyway, is very important that we kind of mitigate, eliminate, obliterate any sense of anxiety or stress associated with any of the projects that you're working on.
Yeah, nice. And also, can you walk us through a time when your technical expertise made a real difference in your projects? I can say on your past work.
Well, there was a time when we had the large firm that I was working for at the time had received a large appraisal assignment where there was a portfolio of properties that needed to be appraised in order to get the loan from the bank. So you
Yeah,
can imagine the complete level of documents that came across my desk in order to get all those appraisals done in time to get the loan. Um, so associated with that is just managing the digital side of it. That's one of the most challenging things for a lot of people because of the diversity and volume of the data that comes in. And so what I've done is I've learned how to master my digital storage and retrieval tools, which is very important. In just developing that, my education in office management technology, in addition to the real estate degree, is has served very useful in just knowing how to navigate the technological platforms, particularly in real estate.
nice, awesome. And like during all these years of your work, how much do you think have changed the client expectations? Let's say now versus 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
Well, a lot of the stuff that has happened over the last, I guess, say 10 years is because of my support function. A lot
Yeah,
of the stuff that I was originally responsible for is actually being handled or could be handled by the executive themselves. Traditionally, you had an assistant where the assistant stayed at the office and did all the work. And when you came back, they pretty much gave you the material. Now everybody pretty much has the full capability of things in their pocket or on their phone or tablet.
sure.
So
Yeah.
that's been one of the biggest shifts as it relates to, navigating and managing the information for senior level people. I personally am a desktop person. Uh, there's
Yeah.
lots of functionality and on a desktop or laptop that you just don't get on a phone. And so that's where your support comes in that the desktop functionality kind of helps with the productivity of documents and information that may not necessarily be readily available on a cell phone.
Yeah, and also it's also way easier. And most of the like high higher platforms only offer, let's say, most of this admin panels or all these platforms almost like offered only for desktop because you can have more options, more features to play with to help you in day-to-day work, besides of
Yes,
the mobile. Because on the mobile, you are limited, I can say. Limited
yes,
for the buttons,
precisely.
limited to
Yes,
read, limited to write. So there are a
right.
lot of like topics on that part. But
Yes.
from your view, what are the most important skills for a real estate professional to develop today?
So one of the most important skills, specifically in real estate, and I learned this real early on and really in any job, but is the ability to conduct research and analysis, being able to look at the market, being able to extract information from the various markets, not just domestically, but internationally. Um, Having the adaptability of and the skill of adaptability is very important because of the shifting landscape going forward that we're
Yeah,
experiencing. But one of the primary skill sets that I would encourage anyone who's interested in going into real estate is to have the research, marketing, and analysis skills under your belt because there's so much data out there. And then from a technical standpoint, being able to have some basic knowledge of data analysis, data visualization, data migration, data integration, those kinds of things. Because of the way companies are emerging and doing all kinds of stuff, they all each have their respective data sets that may need to be integrated and migrated to another platform. So those kinds of skills are very important.
yeah, I fully agree with you on that part. And like as we were talking about the technology and the data management, are there any common mistakes you see professionals make, man, when it comes to this part of the data management and the technology adoption?
Well, a lot of the mistakes that I think a lot of people make is not recognizing data structure, and not recognizing some of the security concerns with a lot of data that they're moving around or that they may have responsibility for.
Yeah,
Sharing information that may not necessarily should have been shared. Those kinds of things is something that a lot of people, I mean, you just don't know. You get a file on your cell phone and you download it, and then you go and you go
boom.
back to office and put it on your computer, and the whole thing
Yeah,
blows up because
yeah,
those
yeah,
that has occurred.
yeah.
you
I've
know,
seen that happen a lot of times.
and,
Yeah,
and it could happen to anybody. So, and that's a lot of the background stuff that a lot of people make mistakes with, and that just goes back to just not knowing the technological framework that you're working in, as far as the technological infrastructure and the underlying architecture of all the technological platforms that are out there now.
nice, nice. And like as we were talking about the technology, and now we all know that the AI is the next big thing. How do you think that AI is like changing the way real estate business operate?
Well, artificial intelligence apparently is the big buzzword now, and it's just such
Yeah,
a blanket term as far as that. Artificial intelligence has a lot of different subsets associated with it that a lot of people, they because of the hype, they're not looking at what's under that actual blanket term. The large language models and the natural language processing functions and the
yeah,
things that are associated with artificial intelligence, with all the different models that are out there. You have to be really careful that you approach the artificial intelligence concept with an intent. It should be used as a tool and not as a crutch. A lot of people, spitting things out, requesting stuff, and taking the ball that AI generates and running with it when that's not really a good thing. So
yeah,
the biggest challenge in my view, as it relates to artificial intelligence, is being able to have some basic level of intelligence yourself. There's lots of people, particularly people that may not have had the foundational knowledge ingrained in them as it relates to technology, where they're just pretty much asking the large language model to present something, and then they're running with what it presents without them doing the additional research required. So that goes back to my original point about the research and analysis skills that you have to have. Critical
yeah,
thinking is important because you've got to be able to discern between what's the truth and what's the lie. Well, if it's not totally accurate or if it could be illogical at some level, because the language models make mistakes. And so you've got to be wary of that, and you've got to be aware of, what it is that you're taking the ball and running with.
yeah. I fully agree on that part. And also, besides that, I think it's like crucial for founders like yourself, for business owners, for at least to know what AI can do,
Yeah. Right.
because you can always automate stuff. You can automate your day-to-day work, and you can make your work, your day, I can say, way easier, and you can focus on the important stuff. Because for the implementation part, there are always people, I can say, or other
Yes.
agencies who specialize on this thing. But you as a founder, you have to know at least this kind of model things, as you mentioned, great. You need to like to know which one is real and which one is fake. And
Yes.
for the other part, always there are going to be people to manage that. And also on the real estate part, what is like a challenge like you enjoy solving overall in the real estate?
For me, the real estate challenge, or the thing that I enjoy the most, is just the breadth of the industry. Everywhere you go, you're either in an office, you're either in a house, or you're either in a hotel or a
Yeah,
restaurant, and that's all real estate. It's all real estate. The whole retail thing. When you go out to get something to eat, you're at a restaurant. It's part of a retail mall, or it's part of a larger commercial real estate establishment.
yeah,
The whole multifamily movement. Everybody live. There are lots of movement in the multifamily space. And then one of the other exciting parts is like the logistics. With all the things going on in the global community, there's lots of goods and being moved around. People need some place to store that stuff. And so the
true.
whole industrial asset class, with people needing places to put stuff and store stuff, there's lots of movement in the larger market with the
Yeah.
industrial, which was not always, the asset type of choice, but now it's starting to gain momentum as the globalization and the movement of goods and services becomes more and more important, especially in light of the current political environment.
Okay, awesome. And one last question. How do you want people to think of you, of your brand, when they hear your support LLC? What is the first thing you want people to remember when they hear your brand and they know they were gonna fix this thing in real estate or fix solution or this kind of thing?
Well, when they hear your support, they should just think the whole package. People, process, and technology. Your
Great.
support is the integration of all of those, specifically as it relates to all asset classes in real estate, both commercial and residential. Um, and that's it. I think the whole package is just a multi-integrated firm that has the ability to work cross-functionally across the different asset types and across the different business lines. Your support is the go-to.
Nice, perfect. I like that you're like have this full package so people will know that you have it all. They don't have to hire 2 to 3 companies to do all this kind of stuff, but they have just one company to do it all. So before we wrap up, where can our listeners and also viewers contact you if they would be interested to hire you in this place?
Well, I can be contacted on LinkedIn. The website is still under construction. Uh, YSINC 2008 at Gmail is where you can reach the company. Bryant Johnson 97 at Gmail is my own personal email, but I am more than happy to meet with anyone or talk with anyone to see how we could be of service as it relates to their real estate needs, the real estate support needs.
Absolutely. I know people will be interested and also happy to work with you as you are offering all this, I can say full package. So Brian, thank you very much for your time. This is a wrap up from my side. And for everyone who is listening, keep growing, keep thriving, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you, Durant.